Hello, everyone. Ideal conditions here at Varsity Stadium in the middle of Toronto. We're looking at American Ultimate Disc League action, the Toronto Rush against the Philadelphia Phoenix. Glad you could join us. I'm Signa Butler, joined in the booth by Robin Costner. Good to have you here.
Good to be here, Signa.
Yeah, it's a good day. I mean, a little bit of wind in the air, Robin.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a wind blowing around there with some challenges for the players, and perhaps we can get Rahil to comment on that a little bit later. But I think overall it won't be too challenging for them.
We're going to talk a little bit about what American Ultimate Disc League is. For those of you watching, maybe played a little bit of recreational, maybe some touring like we did back in the day, Robin. How does this league differ from what maybe some fans out there have seen before?
Well, there's a number of differences. There's a different rule set, but the most significant differences, I would say, are, first of all, the field is much larger. It's wider and longer, and that changes the angles for throwing the disc a lot. There's a lot more openings for them. So defense becomes a lot harder. You have to run a lot further. Another significant change is that we have referees, and Recreational Ultimate doesn't. And that's sometimes a controversial issue, but it does allow the game to be sped up, and it does provide some differences, though, and we'll talk about them during the broadcast. Lastly, I'd say that the games are longer. There's stop time between points, and so fitness comes in as a factor as we get later into the game.
Now we're going to bring in our other member of our broadcast team now, Rahil Suleiman's field level. And Rahil, you got a chance to see some of the teams warm up. What was the feeling down there on the field?
It's quite exciting here. Thank you very much, Signa. It's quite exciting down here. It's kind of warm. The teams look ready. The Phoenix were working quite a bit on their handler sets, and it'll be interesting to see how they actually put that into the game. The turf itself is quite warm because it is sunny outside. So it'll be interesting to see how players recover during longer points. There is a bit of a wind coming southerly, so it'll be interesting to see how the double teams are also used today.
Thanks, Rahil. Now, we were talking a little bit before the game to both sets of coaches about the lineups, and we know the Rush have quite a long list on their roster. The Phoenix, not so much. Any perspective on how that will come into play today, Robin?
Yeah, well, it's going to come into play in a variety of ways. Phoenix has had a number of injuries this year, and it is a rebuilding year for them. So it's going to be tough. They have, I think, a roster of 15 players today, and Rush has a full roster of 22, I believe. So their legs are going to be feeling it come the second half. And then as well, as it being a rebuilding year, Phoenix is going to be having to work a lot harder just to get the disc down the field and to cover the players they're covering on D. And so we're going to start seeing that reflect itself in the second half.
And we know from the Rush, undefeated now in 2 seasons of play. I believe, Rahil, it's 29, right? They're going for 29 in a row today.
They are going for 29 in a row today after winning last night against New York.
So we'll be looking for more undefeated action today, and the Rush looking to drive towards their second straight AUDL championship. Offense gets started, Robin.
Yeah, well, here we go. I think it's Adrian Yearwood with the disc, looking downfield. Open throw to the sideline, and the Rush has already stretched it down the field to Jeff Lindquist.
Now, we were talking earlier about wanting to get off to a great start. It looks like the Rush have done that so far, and now we'll get the first taste of how Philadelphia goes up the field. We do know they have a short lineup today, just 15 players on their roster. And that is what they're looking for, the deep strikes.
Yeah, that's going to save their legs a little bit, but that is going to hurt their legs a little bit. We have an excellent D bid there by Mesa Kelly. And the Rush are immediately on offense here, and punishing cuts deep by Steve Armitage in the green shoes. Rush point this time scored by Cam Harris with the assist from Steve Armitage.
Have another look at the play right now from the Rush.
Good defensive bid there by the Phoenix player. We can expect to see a lot of that combination during today's game.
So Philadelphia to receive, and they'll get things started. And you'll notice they're playing a bit of a four-man handling system to try and get things going, and they're going to take some risks today, Robin.
Yeah, I think they are. The handlers are basically positioning themselves to look for a deep strike opportunity, and if they don't have one, then they would reset. There, we unfortunately had a slip on the field, and the field I have found is a little slippery, so the players have to be careful with that. Uncharacteristic turnover there by Powell, I believe.
It'll take the players a little while to get used to the wind and how it's coming in. Rahil told us it was coming in a bit southwest.
And we have a deep strike here by Phoenix for their first point of the game. Well connected. That was a perfect
spike too.
A little spike. You know what? Let's get some energy into this game. Phoenix, that's perfect. What we saw there, though, was an example of the weave working the disc carefully down. They were being double teamed here on our replay. They managed to get the disc out, and at that point with the double team, that provided an opportunity for someone to be open and go deep.
Double teaming is allowed in the AUDL, one of the many rule changes that we'll experience and take you through during the broadcast today. You know, we call it poaching, I think, Robin, in our recreational and touring days, and it's a risk and reward, really.
Yeah, absolutely, and that the risk is all the greater now with the larger field size. So, but you need to do that sometimes to get the advantage.
Get a look at Toronto Rush's offensive line here.
Cam Harris.
Break throw.
Yeah, he wants it out there, you can tell. Very patient offense right now. Lots of open bodies. Mark Lloyd working hard in the middle here. Lots of hard cuts, keeping his defense honest. There we have Yearwood. Good patient flow from the Rush during that point.
Players changing it up right now. Toronto's D-line coming out. There's Adrian Yearwood getting his first taste of the end zone for today's game. And a 2-1 lead for the Rush.
Standard early in the game for both teams to just get a little used to each other's defensive sets and offensive strategies, and then work around that. You can see the breeze is blowing hard enough.
Cord Harrison pulling off for the Rush.
Toronto's number 81, Adrian Yearwood. Assisted by number 18, Thompson McKnight.
Tight man going on right now.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a poach by Phil Watanabe, the wily veteran, and it pays off.
It pays off. Smart player. Saw that play developing.
Trying to get the give and go, and they get it.
It's to Mike Jones in the end zone.
So Mike Jones gives the Toronto Rush a 3-1 lead. And the Rush always like to say, Robin, the games are a little bit tight for them in the early going as they try and feel out the opponent. Playing to that cue today?
Yeah, they are once again starting a little tighter, some mistakes are being made, but I'm pretty confident that we'll see them start pull away soon as they start getting their legs underneath them, let's say. Got Mark Lloyd with the disc in his hand right now.
Toronto scored by number 2, Mike Jones. Assisted by number 20, Jeff Lindquist.
Oh. Defensive play there by Nima Mostagimi.
64, Nima Mostagimi.
Sachin Rana to Mark Lloyd for the point. So once again, we saw Phoenix attempting to work their handler weave up the field, but the rush is anticipating the throws at this stage. There probably needs to be some stronger faking and some uses of the dumps, I think, a bit more. Watch our replay of Mark set up with Ratchet. Sachin to Mark in the end zone.
Rahil, you're sitting by the sideline there next to the Philadelphia Phoenix. What's the feeling down there? They started out not too badly, but now in a bit of a deficit.
They started out really pumped after scoring that first point. Right now they're discussing how they're going to move the offense. A lot less standing around, a lot more moving in the lanes. And as you mentioned, Robin, they're talking right now about pivoting on their mark so that their throws are not telegraphed. Here we go with a deep shot and a nice D.
That was, thanks Rahil, that was a bang on good example while you were speaking of them delivering much better, and it was just unfortunate that disc hung up a little bit there in the wind. It was a great D by the rush.
Mike Jones swings out.
Toronto team number 13, Jonathan Martin.
Now in the AUDL, you're not going to see the old horizontal as much. It's more of a shifted stack, I guess you could say. A bit of a W offense going on.
Yeah, well, you'll see a variety, but you're right. You're going to see, because there's so much width.
Great grab by
Jonathan Martin, yes. It is important to run hard back to that disc, and he demonstrated why. Jonathan Martin with the score again, a soft spike.
Repaid for his defense, his efforts to come back to the disc, and just a little bit of a sauce in the end zone.
Yeah. Just to demonstrate his thankfulness at being able to play Ultimate on such an awesome day.
Oh, he said, John Martin, we were talking to him before the game, said he got started sort of late. I believe he's in his late 20s now. Said he started after his track career at U of T. Certainly had some speed going on there in the end zone.
Yeah, if he started late, it hasn't held him back in any way. He's a top-notch player for the Toronto Rush and for the Toronto GOAT, the local club team. Cam Harris with the pull. Nice and deep into the end zone. One of the things, Signa, that the recreational player may not realize is right now there are no stall counts happening by the players themselves. It is being done by the referee. And it is to a stall count of 7 instead of 10.
It's almost similar to basketball. The ball is out of bounds, or when a player's heading up to half court. But it certainly speeds up the game. You know, your decision making has to be crisp.
Yeah, it certainly does. Excellent defense. Ooh, and we had a wonderful reverse play there, but we have a call on the field. I believe it is a foul call on the mark. Another difference right there between Rec Ultimate and the Professional League. We have fouls that result in yardage penalties.
So the player will move up 10 yards, or if the call is against you, you'll move back 10 yards. Or more if it's a violent play, which that was not.
Right. Well, we saw a bit of everything on that cycle of plays, but ultimately resulting in a score by the Rush. Steve Armitage certainly allowed the field to be stretched open there with a nice deep.
So Nima Mostagimi factoring in early on offense and defense. With a nice left-handed grab there. Now we're seeing the scoreline right now, 6-1, and if you look at the standings, I mean, it's a pretty big task to come in and play the Toronto Rush. Of course, undefeated, looking for their 29th win today, the defending champions. And we're seeing that right now as well. And we do know that the Phoenix 1-8 on the season so far, near the bottom of the table in the east of the AUDL.
Absolutely. So for the Phoenix, I don't think they are coming into this game with an expectation that they're going to win. I think they would love it if they did. But I think really what they would be viewing this game is as a learning opportunity, and to work on certain things that they were against one of the strongest defenses in the league. And what is it going to take to beat them? It's a building year for them, and this is a learning opportunity.
Who was the Rush leading goal scorer last year?
The timeout on the field. Each team allowed 2 timeouts per half. And Rahil Suleiman, who we got down there?
Hi, I'm here with Jennifer, Angelo, and Mercedes. I think this is their first Frisbee game, so let's ask them a couple of questions. What do you guys think so far?
So far, so good. I'm enjoying my time here.
What made you come out to the game?
Go ahead, guys.
I just heard good things. Heard it was fun, nice to sit out in the sun, and it's a fun game to play, so try watching it.
Have you guys ever played?
For fun at like school and camp and whatever else.
That's great. What do you think so far?
Good to be on a winning team.
There you go.
Has one winning team.
Toronto fans love the fact that they have a winning team. Anyways, back to you, Signa.
That's always a good jab at the other professional teams in Toronto, isn't it, Robin?
Yeah, it's not a quote you often hear in Toronto.
No, never. So the Phoenix cheering defense. Let's see if they can put a stop on the Rush's offense, which has been potent so far. Haven't made too many mistakes.
No, they haven't. And there's such depth on the Rush roster that that it's really quite difficult to mark up against them. The top defensive players from Phoenix may mark up well against the top 3 or 4 offensive players from the Rush, but then there still are some very strong players that remaining on that roster to cover.
Jeff Lindquist leading things off upfield, and Toronto puts the pressure on.
You can see the wind playing a factor. That pull only went just slightly past half as it was thrown straight into the wind. So we can see we have a bit of an upwind, downwind game happening here. Good patience there by Phoenix. They did not throw to the deep guy.
And you'll notice around the field there's the white sideline, and that's essentially the marker. We're playing on a CFL field or a CIS field for Canadian football, 3-down football. So they have to put that line over on the far sideline just to make sure the players know where the sideline is.
Basically to make it an American football dimensioned field, which is how the AUDL decided to set up their field dimensions.
Foul called there.
A good hard mark by Jackie Howe there. I believe that helped to force that turnover. We have our first throw in.
Phil
Watanabe.
See if Philadelphia makes them pay. They do.
Is ruled in, and we have another point on the board for Philadelphia. So we had a throwaway there. I'm not sure if the wind played a factor a little bit on that. It was just the throw was just a little bit low, which is what you want into the wind, but it just did not seem to carry to the receiver. We have our replay of the point.
And Ken Wells, who was catching that point today, we understand he's battling a bit of a stomach flu today, so at least he's managing to get out there on a probably warm day and contributing to his club.
Yeah, good for him. I'm sure a bit of adrenaline helps overcome some of those queasy feelings. And hopefully he's able to stay with us for the whole game.
Adrian Yearwood breaking long. He's got the gloves.
Steve Armitage was able to reel in that long throw, I think intended for Adrian Yearwood, but as we will see throughout this game, Steve Armitage tends to be in the same area for these because he's so fast and catches up.
Okay, he's got the Jets. Not sure if it's part of those fluorescent cleats or not, but certainly he's one to watch for all those deep strikes. He can certainly get up there as well.
It's good D by the Phoenix player there, actually, forcing Adrian Yearwood to go up a bit sooner than he would want to.
Good honesty, though. So 7-2 Toronto. Phoenix looking to get a little something going, a little bit of flow. They haven't been able to see much. Some tough D by Toronto today.
Yeah, and they're getting pushed back here. You know, you see the handlers are really doing dump resets over and over again. Just looking for that opportunity to bust somebody, but right now there's great D by the rush. Excellent patience by Phoenix here, though. They are not getting sucked in at this point at making a bad throw. That was not a bad throw. It was just to a big space.
See if the wind factors in here. And Wells again.
That was very well played. We saw good examples of resets numerous times there by the Phoenix, and waiting for that opportunity. And you know, there was that one throw that maybe looked a little sketchy, but it was just to a space, so the defender couldn't get it. And sure enough, that allowed them to pick up the disc and send it deep.
See again, Huck in the end zone, and Wells.
You're going to see a lot of him, I think, this game, if his stomach holds together.
He'll be getting some fluids in between every break, I would imagine.
I imagine so.
So Philly chipping away. They got a little while to go. 7-2 rush. 3 minutes to play in this quarter, opening quarter of this AUDL action on Bell Local. Glad you could join us today, and hope you're enjoying the game. Beautiful day for Ultimate. If you're ever around, check out Varsity Stadium.
And Cam Harris rushing deep here. All well assisted by Mark Lloyd. They've connected numerous times together, that combination. In both directions, to be honest. One of them will be throwing and one will be cutting deep. Both capable of excellent throws.
We talk a lot about Mark Lloyd and his connection to the AUDL, of course, the general manager of the Rush, and the rest of the family connection.
Yeah, absolutely. With the family acquisition of the team and of the league, we see a lot of Lloyds in the AUDL, but I think that everyone would say that's great for the Toronto franchise and also for the league. It's really developing well.
And Mark Lloyd, of course, a member of Team Canada as well, one of the best Ultimate players around.
Absolutely. A product of the Winnipeg junior program of a number of years ago, and which has produced many excellent Ultimate players. Well, there we go. And Phoenix, as we were talking, slowly but surely were carving their way up the field. Showing that they are not prepared to roll over. This was really the offense that the coaches had mentioned before the game in our discussions, that they viewed as important to play well against the rush, is to make use of their short handler passes, wait for that right opportunity in the end zone. I think we're going to want to see the rush. Want to see the rush now try and right this game, or this little streak that we have from Phoenix.
Stop any kind of momentum that might be taking shape right now.
Cam Harris to Sachin Reyna. I think there's some discussion on the sideline whether there was a pivot out of bounds, but there is no ruling by a referee there, so the play goes on.
Well, the referees have really, I think the mark of a good referee is often if you don't hear about them and you don't hear complaints, that means they're doing a good job. So
I think the discussion there was whether there was any travel. And we can see that Cam's pivot foot pretty much stays on the line there. It's hard to tell, maybe with super slow-mo, whether there was a slide of the foot, but it was not spotted by a referee in any event, and that is the issue here. The referees are calling live travels.
And if there is a travel, it's an automatic turnover,
yes.
which is a change from regular Ultimate Frisbee that you may play in Toronto Sport and Social Club or Toronto Ultimate Club.
And it's important because if a player is able to travel or reach out a little bit on a long throw like that, it gives them an advantage. So it is something that's worth questioning. And I think many players would agree that a travel call is best called by a third, somewhat neutral non-party. It can get messy if players are calling those calls.
And we're seeing a call there for contact. Walking it up.
A little excited on that throw. Wind pushed it down a little bit. They have a turnover and the rush is moving it up the field. Mike Jones to the open. We got Powell. To Lindquist. Sending it deep to Jackie Howe. Resetting. Nice break throw to Jackie Howe. Again, patience from the rush. Lindquist. Over to Jackie Howe for the score.
And Howe deserves that point. He was doing a lot of running out there, and the patience too. I mean, you want to reset just because something looks like the magic pass out there. You know, often that's when you got to hold back and say, not yet, let's reset and do a sure thing, and that worked out for the rush.
Absolutely, and you know, while the Phoenix roster is depleted a little bit through injuries and other things, the remaining players are all excellent athletes. You have to take seriously every throw, and you need to put it in a spot where these athletes can't reach it. And if it's a forced throw, it's better not to make it. It's better to reset in this game.
So we've got about 30 seconds left to play here in the first quarter, 12-minute quarters, 4 of them. And it's important to note about the time clock, because the disc, when we're getting down to the nitty-gritty in times, if it's released, it's still in play. So you'll see a last-second point often, you know, somebody going for a long huck.
Yeah. So sometimes you may see a player make a decision on a throw and you say, why did they throw that? Well, it's because the clock has come in the last few seconds. At least that's the excuse at this particular moment. Looking for a dangerous play foul there, and did get it. Remy Ojo did step into the lane perhaps a little too aggressively.
They did put 10 seconds back on the clock there. And
It's funny how many players that went through before it got knocked down.
Mark Lloyd spiking it down to make sure that no more Philadelphia points heading into the second quarter. 10-4 for the Rush.
Hear it again. A lot of hands, but Lloyd received it.
Emerhill Suleiman, what you got down there?
Hey, I've got a 7-year-old fan, CL here. CL, who's your favorite Rush player?
Watanabe and Steve Ireton.
Why do you like Steve?
Because his family's so nice to us.
Okay.
And because I love his shoes too.
You love his shoes as well.
Yeah, and he's really fast.
Do you guys come out to a lot of games?
Well, me and my dad and my mom usually come out to all of the games. We are season ticket holders.
Oh, so you guys are season ticket holders. Do you want to play Frisbee?
Yes, I guess.
You're going to play at lunchtime, at halftime, right?
Are you going to star for everyone at the half?
I don't know.
Thank you very much. Back to you guys.
Thanks for Hill. Always nice to see the young fans in the stands here, and there's plenty of them on hand at Varsity Stadium. Was checking out the action last night against New York. Plenty of fans here. Of course, beautiful day. Can't argue with that too much, Robin. We've seen some real doozies. I think we played in a few thunderstorms and tornadoes, and not today.
No, this is glorious day for Ultimate, you know, it's great. I agree. It is great to see the kids start taking an interest in the players, and you know, I know that in that instance again, my little girl is the daughter of an Ultimate player who I'm sure is happy to have their child take love for the same sport they played for so many years.
And many of the players that you'll see on the Rush and the Phoenix come from other sports, but we're seeing more and more Ultimate being the first sport of choice. It's not necessarily a transposed soccer player, transposed basketball player, track athlete, or another team sport. It's boy, Ultimate was the sport that you started with.
Yeah, I think that is going to be more and more the case as the years move forward. It used to be something you did at the beach, and certainly, you know, I did not get into the sport myself until sort of university years and after. But now we see it at the you know, elementary school level already. Kids are on teams, and you know they're really learning about how to throw the Frisbee, which is a skill to be learned. And when kids come through, having learned these skills at a younger age, we're going to just see the sport continue to develop.
And the Rush pulling off to begin this second quarter. Again, it's the Toronto Rush leading 10-4 over the Philadelphia Phoenix, who are looking to just stay in this game with 12 minutes left before the half, and then maybe get some water and fluids into them. They've been a little short-numbered on their sideline.
Well, the latter half of that first quarter was much better for them than the first half, and they, you know, they seem to now be just a bit more confident in their cutting. They weren't running as well as they could in the first part of that quarter. Excellent grab in the end zone.
Brian Madger, for saying his name correctly. Little guy, but he's got some hops.
Showed some great concentration. Excellent concentration against a very tough defender there, too. Well led. Disc was in the right spot. Yeah, I think that Phoenix should feel happy with the way they're playing right now. And let's just hope that that they can maintain their legs, because this is what's going to be another factor for them, for both teams, but for them with a smaller roster. I suspect the field level conditions are quite hot right now, and that will exhaust them.
See how the Rush respond, their first possession of this quarter.
See, they have a split stack here, 2 players on each sideline, opening up a deep strike to Cam Harris. Got some challengers down there. Excellent grab by Cam Harris, also being very careful to keep his toe in bounds. Despite having 2 of the defenders coming in hard.
Is this a case of Adrian Yearwood knowing who he's got charging to the end zone and trusting that he can put a disc up there?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, Cam Harris will almost always come down with these. He's long and lanky on top of being just having a great eye. And you can see there, he read that disc perfectly, knowing he needed to land. He had to bring it down, but also had to land in bounds, and he timed that just excellently.
Great work by your camera, catching those toes coming in just inside the tape. 11-5 for the Rush. And we're not playing to any particular number, Robin. Not like we do in league. This is time, so you got to get through 4 quarters, 12 minutes each.
Yeah, and you know what? Often a league game or even at a tournament, the games will go to 13 or 15. Well, here we are, only partway into the second quarter, and we're already at 11 for Rush. We've already had 16 points in total. That's how the length of the game becomes a factor here. We have an excellent put there. Excellent put to the end zone there, and out of respect of the defender, Remy Ojo, who charged at that disc, the offensive player sort of went a little too early up for it, I think.
And Wells kind of patted himself on the chest saying, you know, maybe I read that a little bit wrong. But he can be excused, he's got that flu bug. Ojo get it?
Well, taking the legs out from underneath him, not intentionally, of course, but great second effort by Ojo there. But great run by Wells, because if he's feeling under the weather, he just had to go from one end zone to the other on a very fast player.
Now the length of the field, not much different from what you'd see in a normal Ultimate game, but the width is really the test. 53.5 wide, yards wide, I should say. That's about 49 meters. So
yeah, it's 13 yards wider roughly than regular. Excellent defense by Ojo, and Wells are having a good little battle out there, but Ojo this time took that disc away as the Rush reset.
Get up! 3 of you.
Good patience there with a nice fake by Mike Jones, and faking the defenders such that he's able to put one down the middle. See the replay here of the defensive play by Remy Ojo, just stepping inside his man, coming down with that. Working up the field. Mike Jones fakes outside, looks down the middle. Pretty straightforward at that stage. And I have a feeling legs played a factor. That was the longest point. We had a couple of turnovers on each side. I think Phoenix's probably just run out of steam at that point.
The legs feel heavy when you're at that point in time. Like, you almost want the point to end, but you want it to end in your favor. And it did for the Rush.
There's, for the new follower of this sport, you may not realize then that there's no changes on the fly. You don't have that luxury. You're only able to change a man when there's an injury or when his point has been scored. So, you know, there will be times when you are burning, your leg muscles are burning. Right back at it here with Phoenix. Now they need to get back to their patience and they need to run. They need to keep their feet moving. Well tracked.
Skylar Redding, I believe, with the goal or point, AUDL, keeping track of all the goals and points, assists this season. It's kind of nice to see all the stats that they're keeping in the game.
Yeah, yet another you know, thing that we wouldn't have seen back in the day, and really it helps actually from an analytics standpoint. We see the game evolving as you get more information, so the coaches are able to make use of that information. And in this instance, for instance, you can see what players are involved in, you know, primary as scoring or making assists, and it'll help you sort of adjust on the coverages, especially when you're not used to the team you're facing.
Mike Jones getting things started for the Rush deep in the end zone. That just means 20 more yards to work with.
Got it. Good extra effort there by Powell to come down on that disc that was dropping. Mike Jones to Gord Harrison. Kevin Horgan.
Kevin Horgan's been coming back from a hamstring injury. Fluttering a bit, but John makes sure it's in. John Martin. Almost a blade in there.
A little bladey, and so what that shows you is that the wind is eating these throws up a little bit, and playing a factor there. It's affecting the flight of the disc. These players are all excellent and can throw in the wind, but it will play a factor. There we go. You can see a demonstration with the flags blowing. There are also some pockets here. You know, the stadium is pretty much surrounded with buildings, but there are a few gaps, and we'll see some wind tunnels playing a role there. And in that corner in particular where that last throw was received, there is a wind tunnel.
Long hanging pole by the Rush.
This is where the patience factors in. It's a hard man D right now. They just need to reset. Double team right now, which is what we call this a trap on the handler. And it worked.
Risky hammer over the top.
By number 91,
and a hammer back, looking for the point, and doesn't convert.
That was the scuba just sort of right over his head. It was one of those bad situations where it wasn't on his left or his right side. It was just central, and those are the hardest ones to catch. So some sloppy play on both sides here, but that can be expected.
Phoenix get out of that pressure. Looking again for that long huck. They got some pace up there. And he'll take it back just outside the end zone.
Well done. Maybe threw that one a little earlier than the receiver was expecting, but Phoenix managed to complete that. So a great deep strike and a great rundown.
Casey Startzel picking up the goal.
We're going to see Steve. Oh, okay. We're seeing the replay of the catch right there for the score. 13-7 Toronto. Phoenix are keeping pace. They are keeping pace. They've played so much better over the last sort of portion of this first half, and they just need to stay confident, keep their legs underneath them. I don't think they have. They should have anything to feel bad about in their play in this instance.
They're coming off back-to-back games. Played against Montreal yesterday, suffered a loss.
Philadelphia goal scored by number 22.
So it's been a bit of a challenging road trip. Contact there.
Trying to reach in and get the defensive grab, just took up the lane. Foul. Nice at Kelly there, streaking into the end zone. Double coverage.
Nice D by William Hone.
Saw that coming. I think they read that him as being the isolated cutter sooner than Lundqvist picked up that was happening. Remy catching a foot, allowing his receiver to have straightforward catch there. Not sure if they tangled feet. Seeing a bit of a huck game right now. Both teams seem to be grabbing and hucking. Certainly makes sense downwind.
Longer points, you're out there longer. It means the lungs are burning, the legs are burning, so maybe they're both trying to give each other a little bit of a break right now.
It could be, although the punishing part of this game is that the clock stops when the point is caught. So
and if you turn the disc over, you're in that much of a hole.
You've got it.
Hey, Rahil, what's going on the sidelines over there?
We've got George Harris here. He owns the Phoenix. George, what are your thoughts so far? Philly's gone on a little bit of a run.
Yeah, we're fighting hard. There's a new team that's rebuilding, and they're coming up, showing their heart today. It's a wonderful thing.
You've traveled to a bunch of stadiums with the team. You've traveled with the team. What do you think of Toronto?
Oh, I love Toronto. It's a beautiful stadium. The fans are great, real enthusiastic. We just love coming up to Canada. It's a wonderful experience for our players and for us. It's great.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rahil. Thanks, George Harris.
We're glad that you came up to join us, George. And in the midst of all that, we did see the Rush bring another one down the field and score a point. But as George said, the Phoenix should be very happy. They've come out ready to play this game, and while Rush is scoring more points, they're contested. They're making a strong competition out of this, and that's the goal.
Liam Bradford with the point for the Rush there. If you look at the standings, the Rush, we talked about their undefeated record since they came into the league. And you look at the standings and the point differential. Always interested to see that number. And they are well ahead when it comes to that department, nearly 50 over the closest team in the stadium, DC, or standings, I should say, DC. So obviously showing that not only can they put up points offensively, but defensively can put some stops.
Yeah, they defensively very strong, and then and they just have a number of players that are so fast and have such great throws between the speedy deep strikes and the ability of a number of these players to put it deep. It's going to lead to a lot of points.
We're seeing Jeff Powell limping a bit, coming off the field.
He's coming off of an injury.
So they can make a substitution this time. We'll have to keep an eye and see how Jeff's doing and if he'll be back in the game.
Excellent defense by Phoenix there.
Philadelphia D by number 19, Stephen
Stephen Ing has been in He's got some quickness. I think the Rush will have to watch out for him when he's on the defensive side of the disc.
Absolutely, he stepped into that one very nicely. Just have it, unfortunately, a little bit out of bounds, unable to bring that disc in, either keep his toes in or throw it back into another teammate. We have a turnover. Vertical stack here by the Rush, leaving lots of space on the sides of the field to make cuts. We have a turnover again, though. I think the wind is playing a factor. And the Phoenix bring it in for a point.
Brett Sawyer getting a little taste of the field turf here at Varsity Stadium. And the Phoenix almost into double digits now, 14-9 Rush over Philly. And Rahil is busy making visits to a couple people we got at the stadium here. There's plenty of fans on hand. Rahil, why don't you introduce us to who you've got?
I've got Larry here. Larry's a season seat holder. Larry, how long have you been season seat holder for the Rush?
This is my first year.
First year. And you said you travel a lot going to away games as well?
I saw them in Rochester, saw them in Montreal.
So comparatively, what would you say? Toronto games versus Montreal games or Rochester games? Where would you rather see a game?
I'd rather see them here.
Perfect. Who's your favorite player?
I like Neiman Mostagini and the Bomber.
Bomber being Jeff Powell?
Yes, indeed.
Why those two?
Neiman's a nice guy. I've talked to him a few times on the sideline, and Bomber, he's a guy that never gives up.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Larry. Enjoy the game.
Thanks, Rahil.
Thanks, Rahil. Thank you, Larry. And we'll have to keep an eye on one of his favorite players, Powell, to see if he comes back into the game. See him out there quite yet.
He's pacing the sidelines right now.
Gonna go see the physio, I think.
Get some work done. In the meantime, we've had a turnover and another, and we have the Rush with the disc. And we're going to see another overthrow, but Eric Peter Yearwood reads that on top of the disc.
Another turnover. This could be one of those points where you're dreading it. The lactic acid is building up in your legs. You're feeling like barbells.
I think so. Both ways. Again, the throws into the wind. That one just seemed to air bounce a little bit.
Correction on Philadelphia's last goal. Goal scored by number 26, Brett Sawyer, assisted by number 19.
One of the interesting things about the AUDL, there are the 2 timeouts per half. During a timeout, you can actually make line changes.
Yeah.
Which is just, that's beneficial when you're in one of these situations where you're on the field for what feels like 5 minutes. And you can make a switch like that. Of course, then the other team can.
Yep, both teams can. It works for both. We see a stumble there by Sachin Raina, perhaps asking for an interference call.
And the referees also call picks in this league too, which is another one of our contentious issues in league play. Often picks will be called when people may not know how to call picks or interpret them differently.
Exactly. And we have another score by the Rush. Adrian Yearwood coming down with that one.
Yearwood's having quite a game.
Yes, well, Adrian is quite capable of being very involved in a game. Super fast, excellent handler. Here you just see him streak deep. You just don't know whether he's going to go cut into the end zone or he's going to reverse back and receive a quick pass and set into someone else. And so he's very difficult to cover.
University of Toronto product, won a couple Canadian championships with them. And with the GOAT, not the GOAT, GOAT.
That's right.
Oh, we should probably tell people what GOAT stands for, I suppose.
Well, that's a,
is that up for?
I've heard a variety of different definitions of what that stands for, but Greater Ottawa and Toronto was what I always viewed it as being originally. A bit of an all-star touring team from those 2 regions that competed in the U.S. National Championships, UPA Championships. We have another deep strike here. Jeff Lindquist was
reading it all the way.
He was not going to allow that disc to be caught.
Or greatest of all time.
Greatest
Goat.
of all time.
That's the other,
Some have thrown that out there. I think the GOAT, the GOAT roster would not want to have that hanging on their
No, I think I like your definition better.
Last minute of play in the second quarter.
So we're out minute to play, and the Rush looking hungry for the end zone again. Doesn't pay off this time.
Does not pay off this time. Still a bit of a rushed throw there. Jackie Howe was not ready for it. And here we go, another deep strike. Lindquist is just not allowing that to happen.
Better be safe than sorry there, maybe.
I think it may have been a bit of a punt, but I think that Wells was just exhausted at that point. It was close, but it was ruled up.
Ricky Zito, known as one of the fastest rush players on the team.
He's got lots of space right there.
John Martin to Ricky Zito for the point. And with good clock management too, 4 seconds on the clock.
4 seconds. I think Phoenix has already basically decided that they're ready for a halftime break.
So 16-9 for the Toronto Rush on that point by Ricky Zito.
Phoenix has 4 seconds to play with here, and the clock starts when the disc is received. So there is time for a couple of quick passes.
Toronto goal scored by number 64, Iman Matsagimi.
Clock has not started yet. It runs out the back of the end zone. They will have to take the disc from there. So you couldn't ask for a longer distance to go in 4 seconds.
A strategic pull by the Rush.
So while the disc is live, while it's in the air, the clock can tick down before that last throw.
Toronto Rush 16 and the Philadelphia Phoenix 9.
So we're at the half, which will break for 10 to 30 minutes. It's always on average. I guess the teams decide that. But we will be back with more American Ultimate Disc League action from Varsity Stadium. The Rush leading the Philadelphia Phoenix 16-9.
Hi, I've got Ken Wells here from the Philadelphia Phoenix. Ken, what's your thoughts on the game so far?
Well, we're getting beat pretty good, but we have kind of a depleted roster and a very young team. Impressed with our fight and our people are bidding for everything, which is great. Against a team like the Rush, it's going to be difficult to put together a win, but I think we're out here trying to improve and play hard.
Thank you very much. If there's one thing you're looking to do in the second half, what would it be?
We've been hucking it a lot, and we haven't been completing a lot. Some of those have been mysteries, some of those have been Ds. I think one thing we're going to try to work on is maybe being a little chilly. work on our unders a little bit more because they're not playing a very hard defense. So I think we just need to work on our possession control a little more, maybe eating this lead a little bit. Who knows?
Perfect. One last question. What are your thoughts on the crowd here in Toronto? Do you like playing in front of a crowd?
I do. This is actually missed the Toronto game last year, so I didn't get to play in front of them. Evan was telling me about how much fun it was. And the crowd's been awesome. They're all friendly. I like waving to them. And the Jumbotron is pretty cool, too. I get to watch myself on a big screen and be in front of, I don't know, maybe a couple hundred screaming fans. So it's been a great time.
Thank you very much, Ken. Good luck in the second half.
Thanks.
I've also got shooter Scott Hasty here, who's the coach of the Rush. How's it going? So, thoughts on the first half?
It was a good start, better start than we've had some other games, but we're certainly feeling the effects of our game yesterday. You can see guys just kind of don't have that fourth or fifth gear. They're not closing the way they would if they were a little fresh. So, but that's the case for both teams. So it's a bit of a battle. This third and fourth quarter is going to be a bit of attrition, but we're just looking to clean up some execution issues that we had towards the end of the last game.
So focus being key. Do you think that playing at 6 yesterday instead of the normal afternoon slot made a difference, it being on national television and all?
Well, of course, it's a little less recovery time, but I think our guys should be ready to do this in the regular kind of club season. You're used to playing again 8:30 in the morning, so I don't think that's too big a deal. But we had the number 2 team or number 3 team in yesterday with the Empire, and we had a good battle. So everybody put their legs into it to pull off the win.
Thank you very much. So looking ahead, are you picking any team that you want to play in the quarters and hoping to see in the semis and the finals?
I think the only thing we want to do is play at home, and after that, it's whoever comes up here to see us. And this is our place, so we have to gain the confidence about playing at home.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Well, being Toronto's only winning team right now, it does make a difference.
Oh, cheers. Try to do our best and keep it up.
I think the strength of our team is that we can do a variety of different things. So if teams try to shut down one aspect of the game, we can switch, and we're very happy to switch to something else and feel comfortable doing that. I think this year I'm the tallest player on the team, so I'm definitely a threat for long passes, high passes, in terms of being able to get that over other players. So if I get half a chance, I'm going to go long for a deep throw. And the other thing is, other teams know, they can see that I'm tall, they know that I probably want to do that. And if I catch them cheating behind me, then I'm comfortable coming in for a short pass and to reset the disc as well. So that's how I fit into the strategy.
The Toronto Rush is just, it's a very deep, consistent team. Like when you think about us, it's almost hard to describe what makes us great, because there's, I think we're deep, a lot of strong people, and there's no particular one person that we know that they'll completely change the game. We know we can put any 7 out, and they're going to be consistent, and we'll be able to win that way.
Toronto Rush Ultimate is 4 quarters of intensity. That's our goal every game, is to come out, work as hard as we can for that length of the game, really from warm-up to the end of the game. And if we do that, and if we work as hard as we can, we're fairly confident we're going to win. My role in particular on the team is to help just basically stabilize the offense, get things going, be there in case we need some resets to get a new stall count. And then, if heaven forbid, we turn the disc, just to play as hard defense as you can and try to keep my man from getting the disc.
Welcome back to our coverage of AUDL action. We've got the Philadelphia Phoenix pulling to Toronto Rush, leading this game 16-9 as we begin the third quarter of play. Robin.
Well, here we go in the third quarter. The players have had a rest, had a chat, and probably had as many liters of water as they can consume. It is hot down on the field, we hear, and we can see. So they're going to conserve their energy as much as they can, I think, to make it through the rest of this game.
Adrian Yearwood looking. Not quite in the end zone yet.
Bit of a hard tackle there. Not a tackle, of course, but just an effort for the disc that was a bit of a rough collision. Great D, though, by the Phoenix on that. Good throw through the double team. Let's see if they can get back on their pattern of patient handling weave.
Swinging the disc around, using the field.
Using the full field there as they score on the far side end zone. Excellent disc movement by Phoenix. Stretching the GOAT defenders out, and when you stretch them out, you create openings.
Brett Sawyer giving the Phoenix their 10th point of the game and their first point of this second half.
We were talking a bit in the first half, Signa, about how many of the players on the Rush team play with a club team known as GOAT. And the club touring season is sort of the still very high-level competition in the world, frankly, of Ultimate. So that is something that these players all take very seriously when they're not playing Rush. They're practicing with GOAT to hopefully compete against the best in the world.
We're talking about practicing. It's basically a full-time sport for these athletes. Probably playing 4-5 times a week, and if you're talking about a tournament, that's probably 6 games on a weekend. It's pretty time-consuming.
That's right. There's been changes in the season and the way they're structured, and so a lot of the big club-level tournaments don't happen until later in the season. They have what's known as a Triple Crown Tour, and the top elite teams are playing later in the season, heading into the UPA or USAU championships. So that gives an opportunity for professional Ultimate, though, to operate during the first half of the summer season. And here we see the Rush working their way nicely down the field, patient offense. Jonathan Martin to Phil Watanabe.
We're seeing the wind really coming into a factor on the far side of the field. Fluttering discs a little bit, and that's when you got to get the 2 hands on it. As we see Watanabe with a little rollover there for effect. We always like to tease Phil because he's one of the elder statesmen of the sport.
Absolutely. Phil, I believe, is 43, 44 years of age. There'll be players there on the Rush and on the Phoenix teams that were not born when Phil started playing Ultimate.
It's a scary thought for all of us, Robin.
It is somewhat of a scary thought.
Hey, as the Toronto Rush pull to Philadelphia, we're going to try and head down to Rahil and see what's happening with him. And Rahil, why don't you introduce us to who you've got with you?
I've got Andrew Watts here. He's from, where you come from?
Aurora, Ontario.
How long have you played on the Rush?
It's my first year.
So what are your thoughts on the game so far? You're not playing today?
No, I played yesterday. A couple injuries going on, and give the start to some fresher guys.
So thoughts on the season so far?
On the season so far, I think I don't have much to compare it to in the way of professional Ultimate or anything like that, but I think it's been awesome. Adjusting to the differences in the game and
Contact on Philadelphia.
And also just to, playing with this kind of a caliber of a team is pretty epic. I like what we're doing as a team, coming up with big wins. Haven't lost yet, so we got to be doing something, right?
Perfect. So one more question. You've played touring. You've toured with Grand Trunk and a couple of other teams. What is it like playing with referees?
To be honest, I kind of really like it a lot. I mean, you just got to play. You don't have to worry about anything, especially counting stalls and fouls, things like that. Everything's taken care of, so you just really got to worry about your performance out there.
So there's a lot of intensity in games, but do you find that the animosity is decreased because you're not making calls?
I don't think so. Not at all. I mean, the only time I really think about that sort of stuff is, the integrity rule, when you got to make calls on yourself. I mean, that kind of stands out a bit more, but as far as, trying to get away with things and stuff like that, I don't think it's a real issue.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Andrew. Good luck for the rest of the season.
Sweet. Thanks, Dad.
Thanks to Rahil and to Andrew, part of the Aurora crew on the team. Cam Harris, Jarrett Marin, also from Aurora, which is just outside of Toronto. And he was bringing up an interesting point there about the integrity of the game, Robin, with the referees, because the referees can actually call a foul, and the players themselves can say, that wasn't a foul.
Yeah, and that's that allows some of the roots of Ultimate to still remain in the professional sport, where players can still have control over how the game is being called, let's say. And I think it's an interesting trade-off. I think that very indicative of that interview that Rahil just did there with Andrew. The players seem to like having the referees, and it allows them to focus on playing the game.
And while we were doing the interview, Toronto Rush now with another point on the board. 18-10 is the score if you're keeping track at home. Rush with possession. Easy score for Gord Harrison.
Patient offense, and if the Rush maintains their patience, they will be able to walk down the field. They have the skill and the throws. Every once in a while, though, there's that desire to put something a little outside of your comfort zone out there. That can lead to turnovers.
There is one of the Aurora crew, Cam Harris, getting ready to lead the Rush down the field.
Aurora has a strong juniors ultimate scene, and hence has produced a number of strong players. We see little pockets of ultimate developing across the country, and often very much directed, obviously, to their junior programs.
Harrison, assisted by number 2, Mike Jones.
We mentioned earlier about the Winnipeg, it's a legendary junior program out there, MoFo. Developed some really strong players, one who you see on the Rush, Mark Lloyd.
Good patience there by Phoenix. They had a deep strike, but decided to hold on to that disc because Cam Harris was trailing that. Want to give him plenty of room. So here we have the handlers just working it back and forth, waiting for that opportunity. Downfield again, we have a deep strike, but it's well covered by Cam Harris of Rush. So they're penetrating, they're moving it up the field nicely again with a handler weave, looking for that opportunity, but holstering those long throws.
It's tempting though when you see a guy nearly open, you just want to pull the trigger on it.
You do, and but this is it. This patience paid off very well. Rush all of a sudden seemed to be flat-footed.
And Ken Wells getting into the end zone again. He's been a factor for the Phoenix throughout the first half, and looking like that stomach flu or whatever he's been battling, not keeping him down today. Perhaps the fluids at halftime helped him out.
Yeah, I think so, and I think the desire to play top-level Ultimate has pumped his adrenaline factor into this. He may feel like a wreck come the end of the game.
Fantastic crowd on hand here at Varsity Stadium, and we'll check in with Rahil to see who he's got in his corner. Who you got down there?
I've got 3 young fans here today. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Lucas.
What's your name?
Jacoba.
So you 3 come out to watch a lot of games?
My second.
And who's your favorite player?
Probably Shooter. Yeah.
And who's your favorite player?
Tuya.
Tolia's your favorite player. And do you guys play Frisbee?
Well, not in the real league, but like for fun.
And do you want to play in the real league? Do you want to play on the Rush someday?
Maybe.
From here. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that. I think some familiar faces there, Rahil. And we didn't plan this, but it just so happens that my fellow commentator here in the booth happens to have 3 children from his also ultimate playing wife.
Yes, and
I think you coaxed them with some answers there. I think Scott Hasty will be like, "What did you pay them in candy?"
he's pretty much Uncle Shooter, so I'm not surprised by that answer. Vasilyev, which was the other name that one of my kids mentioned. Great grab in the end zone there on defense by Jonathan Martin. Anatoly Vasilyev is a very strong player for the Rush. He's not out there for today's game. If he was, we would see him involved in almost every play. Russian import. We have a great defensive play there by the Phoenix, by the way.
Philadelphia D by number 57.
Back-to-back defensive plays for both teams. And another turnover. Nearly one there. I guess they did say that that is down.
Edge of the disc touched the ground according to the referee. I think the pleading here is not going to help. A little bit of sloppiness there from both teams, trying to throw sort of quick give and go, low releases that are just not well delivered. And Jonathan Martin, I think it's pretty hard to push him over, but in any event, there he went. And we have a penalty being assessed against Phoenix for an offensive foul.
So you see William Hona walking back 10 yards, and well, the 10 yards didn't help him.
No, he seemed to really want to throw that one on the break side. Lindquist seemed to know where that was going.
Toronto D by number 43, Gord Harrison.
Hey, you have to stand right there.
Mark Lloyd to Lindquist, stretching to the other side of the field here. We've had a penalty downfield offense, offensive interference penalty assessed there. Rush had to take a yardage penalty.
Tough grab by Nima Mostagimi there.
Yeah, smaller guy came down with that disc. Very aggressive up in the air.
Deep strike to Jonathan Martin. So the Toronto Rush building up a bit of a lead right now. 20-11, Robin, and that's a tough task for the Phoenix to overcome. I know that they're, just trying to stay in the game, get through this road trip relatively unscathed. We do know they have some lineup issues, dressing just 15 today.
Yeah, and as we talked about earlier, the legs are going to play more of a factor as we get deeper into the second half. The sun has not stopped beating down on the field. It's quite hot out there for them.
Got a look at the Rush bench, looking pretty happy with themselves down there, coached by Evan Dime Phillips and Scott Shooter Hasty.
Both excellent players. frankly could be playing with this team, but they're coaching it. Another turnover there by Phoenix, just a little too low. You know, it's what you need to do when you're throwing up against the wind is keep the disc low, or else it's going to bounce up. And so that's what they're trying to do, but it's just catching the turf. Nice inside-out throw there, break force throw by Adrian Yearwood. This is something that Rush is trying to work on in this game. Steve Flash Green Boots Armitage coming down with that one. And I think I pity whoever is the assignment against him on field. Not only is he super fast, it seems like he's tireless. I've seen him make those cuts and then turn around and cut just as hard and far the other way.
And glue for hands, you always want that as one of your receivers or deep threats, deep cutters, as we like to call them in Ultimate Frisbee. So we're just under 3 minutes to play in the third quarter here at Varsity Stadium. American Ultimate Disc League action between the Toronto Rush and Philadelphia Phoenix. Phoenix receiving.
We'll be isolating a bit into the middle of the field. Deep strike opportunity. Jonathan Martin all over that disc, but excellent. Well, that's an interesting one. An offensive foul there, I believe, called on Jonathan Martin. The disc appeared to be in the hand of the receiver, but came out upon colliding with the ground.
We'll see how David Hampson, the receiver there, is feeling. Players shake hands. But I mean, the competition's fierce out there. You know, there's always a battle for the disc. Whether you're just marking your man or you're laying out for a disc, and even though you're playing on this field turf, which can be a little punishing at times, these guys are not letting up at all.
No, they're not. Well, you know, they have pride, and they want to complete these plays.
Put on a show for the fans.
Put on a show for the fans, the viewing audience.
Turn the page, ref.
Well moved down the field to Phil Watanabe for the score, and you know, to sort of take a step back or two, we saw that there was an infraction on the field, but ultimately no foul called on Jonathan Martin there, thus giving Goat the disc. Of course, by Goat, I mean Rush. Having seen these players play on both teams, sometimes I get them confused.
A lot of overlap going on. Should mention the AUDL Championship going to be held right here at Varsity Stadium. That's the weekend of July 26th and 27th. The Rush looking to defend their crown.
That would be an excellent showcase of Ultimate. To come here in this excellent stadium, watch top-notch teams play together. Cheer on the Rush if you're a Toronto fan. I think that's going to be a great weekend of Ultimate in Toronto.
There's 3 divisions in AUDL, and it'll feature some West Coast teams, some Midwest teams, a lot of great Ultimate, a lot of deep programs across North America that you'll see competing here in Toronto near the end of July.
Yeah, and there's the Rush have this undefeated record, but we have to know that they have not played against the West Coast teams this season, and you know, it's a big question mark. Now, how will they match up against those teams?
Well, whistle was blown, but not a bad grab. Just just to be certain.
Cam Harris just making sure that everyone knew that was his disc. I believe the whistle was called for a stall down. 7 stall count expired.
Maybe seeing a little bit of the legs, heavy legs on Philadelphia. Phoenix coming through the rush with a little bit more room to make their cuts and be open.
Yep, and we saw there that the quarter ended without an opportunity to put one down deep.
So the third quarter breezes by. It's the Toronto Rush up 22-11. And we're going to head back down to the sidelines, the Philadelphia sidelines, where Rahil Suleiman, the third member of our broadcast team, has a guest. Rahil.
I've got Charlie Hapless here, who's coaching the Philadelphia Phoenix. So, thoughts on the game so far?
Well, it's been a little bit of tough sledding for us. We're a little bit short-staffed in terms of players and coaches. But, you know, I think we've shown a lot of fight. The Rush are obviously a great team. And we've played right with them for a vast majority of the points. The points that we haven't are the difference in the score, right? So,
it looks like the Phoenix is moving the disc pretty well. Was that your idea coming into the game? How did you approach offense?
Absolutely, we've lost a lot of our players with the fancier, bigger throws. So we have a lot of players that are very talented at mid-range hucks, moving the disc to the open side, smooth breaks. So we instituted an offense that has a lot of those throws involved, and that's what we're running now.
It looks good when you guys get moving. The disc it moves really, really well. Looking ahead, this is the first year, this is a rebuilding year for the Philadelphia Phoenix. I believe we spoke before, and you said you also coach club team. Do you think that the experience you're gaining and the players are gaining here will translate into the USAU season?
Absolutely. I think it's invaluable. I mean, it's elite competition every single week.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Good luck for the rest of the game and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Back up to you guys.
Thanks, Rahil. Now, if you're hearing a little bit of background noise, people are a little bit excited. The old T-shirt cannon is going off, one of the very many promotional activities that goes on at Varsity Stadium for the AUDL Toronto Rush. And we caught up with Phil Watanabe before we came out to the broadcast booth today, before he went out to warm up. And he said, one of the great advantages of having the semi-pro league is that they get to play in front of actual crowds. I mean, we're used to seeing in the tournaments and things, you have people in the sidelines, but this is an actual stadium with, a couple hundred. They've had 1,200, 1,800 people here to watch Ultimate, and having them cheer you on and know that the home team or the home city is behind you is a great feeling.
The sport is still in its infancy of development, and it's really amazing how far it's come, but to now be able to demonstrate the sport to young fans or retired fans who want to watch others now play it, and the level is getting higher and higher, and I think it just speaks well of the sport. It will continue to be attractive for everyone to follow. And here we have a great end zone play. Bring it right in, and a quick score by Phoenix. I believe that was Brian McGarr that brought that in. And referring back to the interview that Rahil just had with the coach of the Philadelphia Phoenix, I totally agree with his assessment, which is that he's quite proud. The team is playing well. They've lost some players that they might otherwise rely upon to make the big plays, and so they've had to adjust their offense. And that isn't always going to be perfect, but it is actually something that they've done very well. And when they maintain pressure and they work hard out there, which means keep their legs moving to get open on sort of swings and dump cuts, they start moving the discs and creating space, and it's been reflected in some well-earned points.
And they're also playing without Tom Allen, who's got a fractured forearm and dislocated elbow. He's on the sideline there cheering on his team, but I certainly miss him as well.
A practice injury, I understand, too. Those are always frustrating.
Freak of, you go to practice and end up with a injury, but you practice hard for these games, and he'll be back.
Excellent crossfield break force by Mark Lloyd. Got a little body contact here.
He'll walk it back 10 yards.
On the offense. Sometimes walking it back isn't such a bad penalty. It opens up a bit more of the end zone for you to throw into. Good adjustment by the defense of Phoenix there. Again, Phoenix matching up very well against Rush's potent offense, making Rush have to sort of look for that second or third cut. Again, a devastating break force throw, but dropped by Sachin Meena. Good effort, but that disc would have been very difficult for the receiver to come down with. Except he just did. Mark Lloyd with the defense in the end zone. Double teamed right now. That will not be an issue for him. Mason Kelly moving it up the field to Steve Armitage. Cam Harris once again demonstrating that if it's anywhere near him, he often will come down with it.
And the Rush pick up the goal. 23-12 right now. A lot of options for the Rush there. I think Philly just, with their tails behind them a little bit as time progresses on here. About 9 minutes left to play in the game.
As the coach said, you know, the difference in the score is just the difficulty in containing Rush every single time. It's just not going to happen.
And while we get ready for the Rush to pull down to Phoenix, I'm gonna send it down to Rahil.
Thank you very much, Signa. I've got Alex here with Emma and Jaden. They're coming out to their first professional Frisbee game. Thoughts on the game so far?
It's been a very good game. Jaden, what do you think about the game?
Do you like watching Frisbee? Do you want to play? Do you want to play, Emma?
Yeah.
And we have some really young fans here watching their first Frisbee game. So, Alex, looking at the game, who's your favorite player?
Ooh, choicey question. Lots of friends out there. I would have to go with a fan favorite, Jackie Howe.
Jackie Howe being the favorite. Emma, do you have a favorite?
Yeah.
Who's your favorite? The guy in the red?
Yeah.
She likes the guy in the red. Jaden, do you have a favorite? He's not sure. Thank you very much. Alex?
Thanks, Rahil. We just saw Ken Wells getting in the end zone again, obviously showing his pedigree here today for Philadelphia, coming and scoring yet another point. 23-13 right now is our score. And we'll get to set to see what the Rush will be up to.
9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I think the Rush can feel confident that they're going to hang on for this, but I'm sure they want to continue to work hard. There's an opportunity for players still to connect with each other. Coaches are still working on developing the team as the season progresses. Jackie Howe, who a young fan just mentioned as a favorite, he actually is one of the players here that is not playing with GOAT. His choice is to play with a co-ed team named Union in Toronto that will be traveling down representing Canada at the World Championships in Italy later this summer.
We just had a brief timeout there. I think more rest than anything, getting things ready. Now you mentioned the Worlds that's coming up in Italy in August, I believe. A couple Canadian teams going to be venturing over there, including Furious George from Vancouver. It's the World Club Championships. Past winners, I believe. Robin?
Of the World Championships?
Or UPAs, am I thinking of? The
well,
formerly known as UPAs.
By past a number of years in the past, but yeah, the Canadian teams have succeeded at the top levels of the sport. Vancouver being a hotbed in past years. Toronto, though, now actually has developed a very strong competitive team at those levels, and so we're seeing many Toronto players represented at the world level on Toronto teams or as additions to sort of a Canadian squad.
We've seen a couple members of the Toronto Rush represent Canada at various levels. Mark Lloyd, we already spoke about, as well as Cam Harris. And Jarrett Barron from Aurora, one of the other Aurora men on the team. So as you were saying, that hotbed really helping out Canada as well as the Rush.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Back a number of years ago, the hotbed was North Bay in terms of just a funny sort of spot where all of a sudden you saw a lot of Ultimate coming in. Just the sport seemed to take off there, and that's what you need. You need the sport to take off, and then people will start picking it up, deciding not to play soccer or hockey or something else.
Philly intercepting as Toronto was looking to add another point. A little misread on communication there, I think.
Yep. Yeah, I think someone thought somebody was cutting one way when they went the other. Mark Lloyd proving once again that you do not try and throw deep against him.
Denied, the two-handed deny there. It's like an outfielder. Don't threaten my arm or I'm going to gun you out at home. Mark Lloyd getting it done on defense here. Two-handed layout.
He does not disappoint when one is seeking clips for a highlight reel. You will find many Mark Lloyd clips. He will make that third effort. Punch, counter punch, deep strike once again, not into the end zone. That was Cam Harris to Mason Kelly. Mark Lloyd to the end zone too. Liam Redford. So once again, Phoenix, performing well and making a decent attempt to strike it deep, but just the depth of the Toronto offense.
Mason Kelly trying the big long jump into the end zone, trying to make it work for him, but
his size 14s didn't clip the line, I guess.
As Toronto pulls to Philly again, we're going to check in with Rahil. He's always got somebody on the go down there. And who are you chatting with this time?
Thank you very much, Signa. I've got a really young fan here. What's your name?
Emily.
So, Emily, do you come out to a lot of Rush games?
Yeah.
Who's your favorite player?
Cameron.
So Cameron is your favorite player. How do you know Cam?
I don't know. I just play with him. Well, I see him on the fields and I like him.
That's good. So what do you like about his game?
He gets a lot of goals.
That's good. Do you play Frisbee yourself?
Yes.
Do you ever want to play on the Rush?
Yeah.
Hopefully someday we'll see you out there. Thank you very much, Signa. Back up to you.
Thanks a lot, Rahil. We're just watching the replay of Philly's latest point. And do I need to say who was on the end of that, or do we already know already?
Yes, a miraculous recovery, I think, is what we have to say there.
Yeah, Ken Wells. Maybe it was just Possum. And it's funny, you can't look at him dancing in the stands and everything. Just having a grand old time.
I'm cured.
I'm pretty sure they know that they're on the Videotron. And the fans are loving it too, That's the great thing about Ultimate. It's like you see a great play on the opposing team, you see a great defensive play, offensive play, or a player get hurt or anything, the fans are behind you. They love seeing a great game. They love seeing sportsmanship. And certainly this game has had a flavor of everything.
Yeah, it certainly has. And you know, the teams, you know, you can tell they respect each other, having fun out there, but at the same time they're working hard, and that creates respect too. You want your opponent to be putting up a fight, and that's what Phoenix is doing.
We just overheard the Philly players say down on the sideline. I think it's 47 there.
Phoenix is working the fans better than Rush is at the moment.
Yeah, they're asking for hammers, and so they had the fans chanting hammers just silently. We'll see if Wolf. Yeah, there you go. Hammers, hammers.
A hammer, to the uninitiated, is a particular type of throw where the disc flies upside down and curves through the air. Players be quite happy to throw the hammer. Their coach, on the other hand, may have something to say about it.
It's great when it works, Robin.
Pretty pass.
But, yeah, everybody's 1-1. 24-14 for the Rush right now as they work the disc around, and maybe they will get in a position to throw a hammer. But certainly if the fans are calling for it, I'm sure Philly knows it's coming.
Eamon Pinto with an excellent reception there again. Hotly contested, comes down with a disc.
Contact on Philadelphia.
Marking foul. So notice on the foul call that they get yardage assessed and as well get to take the disc to the center of the field. That's a big advantage when you're near the end zone. It gives you lots of space to move it. Look at that, nice step around, break throw. Very difficult to defend, certainly on the break side. And by break, what we're talking about is where the person who's throwing the disc has a person standing against them, basically trying to force them to throw in one direction. And makes it easier for the defenders if you know the throw is coming out one direction. And then here we have the thrower completely reverse that and put it in the direction it's not supposed to go. That's a break force throw.
And
well delivered.
And at this level, you know, you have all those throws. So with the fakes that come in and the defense bites on you, these guys can find a way to get there, whether it's inside out, outside in.
Yeah, when you're marking man on a guy in the end zone and there's a break force, well, you're always erring on the side of the open side, not the break side, so there's not much you can do. And then you add to that a Cam Harris being the one making the strike.
Recipe for trouble.
You've got it. Well, there we go. Phoenix not content to let that stop. Off they go with a great deep hug. They're making a motion.
See, like, I think, you know, they're trying to convert a couple Rush fans, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they seem to be winning the hearts of the Rush public here with a spirited effort and smiles on their faces.
I know George Harris, CEO down there, and Coach Charlie will be pretty happy with the effort that the team's putting forward today.
Swan dive into the high jump pit. We all wish there was high jump pits we could land in when you're flying through the air. The Vuvuzelas are out. Got the Rush fan base trying to reverse the energy. The Rush stashes in full display.
Ryan Mager, assisted by number 49, Jordan Winnie.
So Toronto up by 10 points here with just over 5 minutes to play in the game. And the fans wanting the hammer.
Excellent defensive bid. Cam Harris coolly comes down with the disc. But what an effort from the Phoenix player.
And that's the kind of sportsmanship we're talking about right there. That's what Ultimate's about.
Yeah, I respect that play, especially this deep into the game. We've played now 40 points of Ultimate, 41 points of Ultimate. That is many more points than your typical recreational player will play in 2 games. Look at that defensive bid. Fantastic effort. Cam Harris, great concentration.
Both teams often take a little time to have a little chat before the poll comes in, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. Robin, you know, offensively, defensively, who have you got marked?
Yeah, who are we watching? What player?
What force? Where are you forcing?
That's right. Are we forcing towards our bench? So on. I want to make sure that they all have the same information. There's the hammer the fans were waiting for. And it was almost received. Perhaps not the best time to throw it, but look at the reception from the fans there. Thank you.
And a little smile. Why not? But you know, you want to win with style and substance, I think. You know, that's the name of the game. That was not stylish there.
Yeah, he's trying to flip it over quickly underneath and did not have the disc well in his hand.
Official just getting this to reset.
Perhaps feeling the pressure of the fans there, throws it into a poach. Jackie Howe standing in the middle of that one. Got a call on the field.
Yeah, it's a pick call. So Jeff Lindquist will reset. Stoppage in play. Nice breakthrough there.
Unruly fans seem to still be calling for this throw.
And they get something.
Look what happens.
Lindquist to John Martin, to the man with the fluorescent boots, Steve Armitage. And Toronto Rush have their 27th point of the game, 27-15 over the Phoenix right now.
Here we see where the hammer actually is the throw you want to throw. You throw it as a break force, and it's easy to get over top of your defender usually. You throw it to space, as I did there. And then really it was straightforward at that point. They're on the break force side of the field, and Armitage is open anyway, but especially on the break force side.
That was a beauty. Our point of the game so far?
I think that maybe just to demonstrate perhaps how you can move that disc across and how you can keep your fan base happy at the same time.
And showing the different kinds of throw as well. And we're going to just take a break down to the stands right now, see what Rahil has going on down there. Who do you have with you, Rahil?
Thank you very much, Signa. I'm sitting in Toronto Rush country, and I've got Pat here. Pat, do you play?
Yes, I do.
And how often do you come out to games?
I try to make every game when I can.
So you're a season seat holder.
I am a season ticket holder.
Who's your favorite player?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe the coach.
The coach? Which one?
Phillips.
Coach Evan Phillips. Dime is his favorite player. Thank you very much, Pat.
Thanks, Rahil. Thanks, Pat. And as we were chatting with Pat down there, Toronto Rush with another point on the board.
And And there we have Coach Phillips right there. Feeling pretty good about today's game. And he was quite a player back in his day. Top-notch player in the days of GOAT and teams before GOAT in Toronto.
Yeah, if you were wondering who was going to be on the certain top team, you always knew that Dime, as he's known, would be among the top guys there.
Rush comes out, a little double team right away, just to put some pressure on the handlers. See if they can force a quick turnover. They like coming through the middle.
Defensive stop there by Liam Bradford. See what the Rush can do. About 1:30 left here to play. Here on Bell Local, coverage of AUDL. Toronto Rush against the Philadelphia Phoenix. And it's good.
Thompson and Knight bringing that disc in from the sideline, resetting well. Straight open to the end zone to Mason Kelly.
A nice pass there by Nima Mosagimi to get things started. 22-year-old from Thornhill, and there's 17. Isaiah Masek-Kelly, one of the tallest players on the team as well. 6'4", you always know he's going to come down with it, I guess. Or he better, or he's going to hear about it.
He's usually involved in the play one way or the other. And yes, he will come down with those. Looks like we have another timeout.
Timeout, Philadelphia. Fans, make sure you stay in your seat at the end of the game for the presentation of the Spirit of the Game Award.
A minute 22 left in the game, Signa. I'd say overall that Phoenix should feel quite happy with the fight they put onto this game. The score is not really maybe demonstrating that, but on the field they've contested well.
I'd say they've really equated themselves. I mean, considering that, you know, we knew going in that they had a smaller roster coming off back-to-back games, as the Rush did yesterday, but the Rush certainly have a lot more players to draw from. In fact, switching guys in and out of their lineup today, that's how deep the program is. But certainly the Rush, or the Phoenix, have to be pleased with how they performed here. And you know what? They got the fans on their side, too. You always need a little bit of boost from the 8th man, I guess is what we call it in Ultimate, 7 players on the field, so the 8th man. And the crowd here in good spirits, I'd say.
Yeah, again, you know, for any of these Ultimate players, whether it's on the Rush or Phoenix teams, playing in front of a crowd in this sort of a circumstance where you've got announcers and everything else is a luxury that that will give them that extra little bit of energy.
Get them going.
Toronto goal scorer number 17, Isaiah Masek-Kelly, assisted by number 64, Nima Mosagimi.
Here it goes. So, coming up to about a minute left to play in our game today here on Bell Local.
Got a switching D happening with the Rush, just switching with each handler. Speedy guys, chasing them down. Not giving them any easy open cuts. Making them work for every possession. So reset swing to the middle. Nothing they can do with it then. Excellent outlet though. Holsters it well. Maybe not so well.
Toronto D by number 12.
There we got our Scuba. Fans like it upside down, it seems. And a second one, just in case. Well, you know what? They should have stuck with one. Scuba is also an upside down throw. Nice way to get a short pass to a space over your defender. Here we have a double team trap on the sidelines. giving a lot of opportunities here to Phoenix. They have a nice cut in the middle there to reset. Remy Ojo says no on that pass attempt. And the clock has run out. Well, there we have
it. That was the fastest minute of all time.
The Toronto Rush 29 and the Philadelphia Phoenix 15.
There's the Rush walking over, shaking hands with each other. They'll shake hands with the other team. And your final score for today, 29 for the Toronto Rush, 15 for the Philadelphia Phoenix. As we take a look at our handshakes, there's a real team effort today for the Toronto Rush. Would you say, like, maybe not one standout player, this was a team effort?
I think that's right. I think that we saw a lot of touches from most of the bench. And while, you know, a few of their sort of highlight reel players were heavily involved, we saw a well-balanced attack.
And for the Philadelphia Phoenix, I gotta say, the play of Ken Wells, who we were told a little bit under the weather today. I think he deserves probably their player of the game nomination as they salute the fans here at Varsity Stadium in the heart of Toronto.
Well, good for them.
There's Evan Phillips, pleased with how his team has performed, still undefeated. This is 29 in a row. And not to do any of that opposite jinx thing, you know, you never want to say someone's undefeated and then have them go into the game, but they're certainly on their game right now.
Yeah, they certainly are, and it'll be a tough record for some other team to beat whenever this record ends, and who knows when. They're awarding the MVPs here at the moment. Phil Watanabe